Boom. Dead man walking. Hello, folks. Welcome back after 11 long months. Just like the dead man coming back. The Phenom. Baga! The Undertaker! We come back for, at least for the time being, for this special episode for now. Because our schedules are just all kinds of crazy. And, but yeah, we are back right now, at least for this episode, for the time, and where we will be talking about WrestleMania 35, the big show from 2 weeks ago, and what's happened on Raw and SmackDown since. So basically, the fallout from WrestleMania also. So yeah, by and large though, things good. Yeah, things are good, but with us. And a lot of crazy stuff has happened over the past year in the world of wrestling since we've left our the listener probably or whoever. But yeah, it's all kinds of stuff like All Elite thing, wrestling, coming about, and all the people who've left WWE and all the things within WWE that have gone on. And lots of crazy stuff. Lesnar is officially no longer under contract with WWE. Goldust has left WWE. He is going to go to AEW. I'm really interested to see him and Cody. I'm interested to see what will happen there. And yeah, Ambrose is gone. The other night was his last night. That live event that they taped in Moline, Illinois. Yeah, it was lots of crazy stuff, has happened. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's been lots of other stuff, obviously, that's gone on, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time in wrestling. It's kind of harkens back to like the old territory days. Now with AEW kind of springing up and all the things that they're doing. New Japan is big as ever. Trying to think of other things. Impact or TNA or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying their best to keep afloat. And ROH seems to be pretty strong nowadays.
Yeah.
So all these different things, and then with the NWA, what Corgan is doing with NWA, it's an interesting time for wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
If they could ever get back kayfabe,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
they could ever, which they can't, and I think WWE is at least understanding that, and I think AEW gets that. There is that turn, it seems, from going from everything is real in wrestling to we know it's not real, so we're gonna make it not real. You know what I mean? Like Sami Zayn coming out and berating everybody. Like that's WWE. I believe that. I believe he believes that. Maybe not to that extent, but I believe that that's the current culture with at least the WWE fans. Probably not NXT fans. NXT fans. I wouldn't have said this, a year ago. NXT fans are different from the main roster fans, the WWE fans, because they're sold out to the product that they're given on NXT. They love every bit of it, and they have been given quality for years now by Triple H and those who are taking part.
NXT also seems like an old school territory in some aspects, like.
And Triple H has said as much. People think after the UK came in, NXT UK came in, and they're trying to go into Germany, they're trying to go into India, they're trying to go into Japan, they're trying to go in all these different countries. It is territory like, and I like that. I think NXT, at least the NXT property, is the better wrestling. It's the better. They have storylines that are simple, but you showcase the wrestler. You showcase the sports entertainer, if you will. And that's an indie show. That's what an indie show is. And then when they get called up to the main roster, whether it's Vince mishandling or whether it's people backstage, the writers, the producers, not understanding who this character was in NXT. I mean, they spent years crafting this character in NXT,
Mm.
and then they go with the main roster and they just screw it up. And there's time and time again with individuals that has happened to. That's why Luke Harper is wanting to leave. That's why um, other characters are wanting out, because they want to go and they want to prove themselves. And Luke's proved himself, full stop. I mean, he knows what he's doing. But there are other characters who come into WWE thinking, I don't know if they're thinking paycheck. I don't know if they're thinking, hey, I can highlight myself. I don't know what they're thinking. But something happens from NXT to WWE proper, and it doesn't destroy the character, because the character can go other places. They can go to AEW, can go to New Japan, can go wherever he wants. But it's almost as if WWE doesn't know how to handle people, like the WWE SmackDown and Raw doesn't know how to handle the character, or whatever. But yeah, we're back. We do seem like we're back to the more territorial days, and I like that. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
probably that is best for business.
Mm-hmm.
Is because they've been doing this, and they've been doing these World Collide things, which I haven't been able to watch yet. But I think that's best for business. I think Triple H understands what is going on, crossing the cruiserweights from each brand and putting them on this Worlds Collide. It makes sense to have all of your characters come together and fight together, fight, have matches and do tournaments and whatever else. But they need to be fighting for something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. And maybe this is just something that they're trying to figure out. How do we get those who are on WWE proper, who are in NXT, who are in NXT UK, who are 205 Live? How can we get them to? How can we get exposure to them? And this is a good way to do it. But yeah, it's very, very territorial, and I like what they're doing. At least what Triple H is doing with the Worlds Collide and all these other things.
Yeah, like you're right. NXT is probably, the best. Like, because I've seen some Ring of Honor, modern Ring of Honor stuff, some modern Impact stuff, and stuff like that. And I've seen quite a few New Japan stuff, because that's been all the rage, for the last couple of years. And I think NXT probably, in my opinion, is probably the best, because it's like just this like perfect storm. At least for me, I feel like it's the perfect storm of all this stuff. It has an old school territory feel. It has a modern indie feel, but it has the sleek, smooth production, of WWE, and it has their money and stuff like that. So it just kind of has all this stuff. It has good quality work. It has clear cut, faces, heels, jobbers, stars, great tag teams, all that stuff. And yeah, you're absolutely right. And so because I saw AJ Styles, when he was on Stone Cold's podcast, he said, looking at NXT, he goes, I'm seeing NXT, and I'm like, wow, that is what TNA was from that 2002 to 2007 area. He's like, it is, and I was like, yeah, it is kind of like an independent promotion, it's just one that, but it's the developmental, it's the WWE's version of an indie promotion kind of thing, and they have back when they had OVW as their developmental program, out of Louisville, which they have some OVW stuff on the network that you can watch. I saw Batista. This is back when he was Leviathan, he was even bigger than he was, in WWE. It's ridiculous. It's like, golly. There was a match with him and Kane, from OVW, because they had that great working relationship. So I was I was like, man, that, that's almost back in the territory days when where Andre would come in, to the big territory, they'd be like, oh, how are we going to sell some seats, oh, well, let's call Vince and see if he'll let Andre come, and Vince Senior, he was very keen to let Andre build his brand and go around and the world and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that is actually something I would like to see more of, is main roster guys come to NXT just for special one-off appearances, or you want to put some butts in seats, you know, even more so, like, do something crazy. Have Finn Balor come down, you know, for an NXT taping or for a takeover and defend the IC belt against, you know, some big time guy, you know, stuff like that would be cool. So yeah, in that aspect, like I feel like it has that feel of the territory too, and yeah, NXT in my opinion is probably where the best wrestling is going on.
Yeah, and there are shades of that kind of thing going on with, like you said about Finn Balor. Not that Finn Balor's doing that, but at least the opposite way. They had Buddy Murphy take on, who is a prominent who was a prominent figure on 205 Live, come down and take on Velveteen Dream for the North American title. Why not do, like you said, flip flop, which maybe they can't. Maybe in that kind of they can't, in that Vince won't allow that to happen. But the women's titles are that. The women's titles on all the are going to be all on essentially all the brands. I think that's great. It gives the NXT crowd who missed their favorite wrestlers that called up to WWE proper, that a chance to see them in action again, a chance to see them actually wrestle and actually be able to do their craft well on a brand that respects the performer. And so, anyway, I agree with you. I think we should do that. They should do that. They should even take the Universal title, and I mean everything. Just go back and forth. It just makes more sense.
It does, man. It really does. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, good fun fantasy booking scenarios. Like, it's always a good time doing that. So, is there anything else you want to discuss, go over anything before we head to the main portion of the show?
I don't think so. I can't think of anything.
Okay. Yeah, me neither. Can't think of much else, but all right. Well, I guess we'll jump right into the 7.5 hour long odyssey that was WrestleMania 35. Coming to us live and loud from the MetLife Stadium, as Hulk Hogan said. He said the wrong name on purpose to make a joke, and then he said
Silverdome.
And then he said the wrong name accidentally. Because I guess there was an arena called the MetLife Center that they would do house shows on back in the day. Yeah, and so that's why he anyways, so it was quite a long haul, but I mean, you were gone by like what, 11:30? Like I think everything was done by around 11:30, so it wasn't quite as late as we initially thought it would be. But overall, good time. You know, I don't really have any outstanding. There's a couple things that I've kind of switched my mind on. Where I'm like, okay, in hindsight, yeah. But by and large, this was a good time. I thought this was a really good WrestleMania, and it felt big. It felt epic. It felt, you know, all that stuff. So we're just gonna jump right into it and just kind of talk, each of us, about, you know, kind of back and forth about some stuff that we liked and didn't like and whatnot. So Jeremy, please take the floor first.
There's a lot of things happening. I think once we look at the paperwork of it, the match list, and realize that there were so many things that they were finishing. I mean, Kurt Hawkins, losing streak over. Now tag team champion was Zack Ryder, kind of harkening back to the Edgeheads and whatever else they were called earlier. But I think that's good. I think that's fine. Trying to think of what else. The women's tag team titles, basically first defense. Not maybe not first defense, but first high profile defense, and Boston Hug Connection lose. We have the first. Now, depending on who you ask, the first WWE Black African American major title holder.
Yeah.
In Kofi Kingston, depending on who you ask. Some people would say The Rock. I don't really care. I think that whole thing is dumb. Putting color in it is stupid. Kofi deserves the belt because he worked for it.
Yeah.
The guy's been in WWE for 10 plus years, and he's had a cult following for a long time now, and he definitely needs the title. I think it's great to put it on him, and I like seeing him with the title. He gives it a he's a great babyface and gives the title a little bit of gravitas in that he's been a tag team title holder, he's been all these others, and now he's this. And so let's hold it on him for a while, see what happens with him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Batista's career ends this night. Kurt Angle's essentially in-ring career ends this night. And then the first ever women's main event for the title, even though it ends in a little bit of controversy, which the referee was fined for. It all said and done. This was a fan service show.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who won because the fans wanted that person to win. Pretty much everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of one that's like, oh man, why did they? I mean, the tag team title belts, that might be questionable, but it's nice to see Kurt Hawkins actually win, and the way he won. It was a good match.
Yeah,
it was well deserved to get him back, kind of away from that losing streak. Yeah, it was a fan service show. Everybody wanted to see the Iconics actually have the belts because they're better on the mic than any other woman, except for Becky Lynch. And Charlotte has her time too, where she is really really strong on the mic, and Alexa is really strong on the mic. But as far as wanting to give the tag team titles people to chase,
mm-hmm.
the Iconics is the great heel group that they needed. Because I don't want to see Nia Jax and Tamina win it, because Nia at times will have a decent character work, but come on, I don't want to see somebody, even Sasha and Bayley, their characters, like, they need to change their characters.
Yeah.
Bayley needs to stop being this teenage whatever she is. Turn her heel, turn Sasha heel if we see Sasha ever again. So overall, it was a fan service show, and I didn't hate it. I think, looking back, and because the new Avengers movie is coming out, I think what at least in my opinion, is that the Avengers movie it's going to be a fan service, as well as this is going to be a fan service. So for me there's a little bit of comparison there.
But never thought of that.
Yeah. So it was a good show. It was a nice show. Was it the best WrestleMania ever? No. It had its flaws. I didn't like the women's tag team match. I didn't think it was as good. I liked the ending. I thought that was the best part for me. The Samoa Joe Rey Mysterio match was what it needed to be to keep Samoa Joe strong. There wasn't anything I hated. That I absolutely hated.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an okay show. What about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. I think WrestleMania 33 2 years ago was better. That was one of the best ones, for sure. That one was really good. Last year's, whereas this one you said was a fan service show, they wanted to give the fans what they wanted. Last year's show was like swerve. Like, we're gonna like build up all this stuff, and then nothing's gonna end the way you thought it was. And so it seems like this is a mulligan. Oh hey, yeah, at WrestleMania 9 we're gonna have Bret Hart lose to Yokozuna, and then Yokozuna's gonna immediately lose to Hulk Hogan, and then okay, well, that all turned out to be terrible. All right, next WrestleMania, all right, Bret, yeah, you beat Yokozuna, sorry. Like, this feels like a kind of like, all right, last year we tried to do the whole, I call it the Last Jedi syndrome. They're like, oh yeah, let's not give the fans anything they want. Let's try to, be edgy and different and swerve. Everything's completely different, than what you think. And then it's like, okay, crap. All right, we have to, we have to, like I said, do a mulligan. And I thought this, whereas last WrestleMania had a lot of build and little payoff, this WrestleMania had a very rushed build but a lot of payoff. because there was a lot of stuff that felt rushed. But was still good. And but I mean, with that being said, though, I mean, this WrestleMania felt like a good, proper WrestleMania. It felt big, because like yeah, you can't have every match be for a title. You can't have every match go this long and that long. You have to have some matches that are short. You have to have some matches that feel like grudge matches between two guys who just really hate each other. You have to have a match that's the sort of indie darling kind of dream match and stuff. And so yeah, you know it felt like a good, proper WrestleMania, and I enjoyed that. Having the Universal Championship go on first was a bold move, and I actually liked that. I thought, all right, start the night off with a bang, like, and the way it was to have it look like Brock was going to keep it by beating him before the match, and then putting him in, and then yeah, that was great. That was a really good way to open it. That match was done really, really well, and stuff like that, and I really dug the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match for the SmackDown titles. Usos win. That was great. Shane McMahon and Miz Falls Count Anywhere match was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. Then probably, yeah, Kofi and Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship was the best match. Looking at it in hindsight, I know the women main eventing was a big deal, but I feel like this match should have gone on at least right next to it. Because I don't think I would take the women out of the main event, but I feel like this one should have gone on right before it to have it feel, because I hate when it's all disjointed and it's like, all right, well, it's this title match goes on first, and then the big title match goes on like towards the bottom third of the card instead of towards the end, whatever. Like it just felt kind of different. Like I thought Triple H and Batista, that match is one that I've kind of changed my mind on a tad. I didn't hate it. I thought it was still decent, but I just thought it went on way too long. I thought that it was kind of a typical Triple H power play. Like, oh yeah, we need to have the long match. We need to have the match with all the high spots and all the big stuff. Like, and we need to go on later because we're the big stars. People are here to see us. And it's like, I've grown to respect Triple H a bit more over the past several years because of NXT stuff and being willing to, more willing anyway, to put over the younger guys, and to help build people up. And Batista is one of my all-time favorites. Like his initial run from 2005 to 2008 when he was like at his hottest. I was a really big fan of. But yeah, this just never really quite clicked for me. But I feel like if the time was cut shorter and it was sped up, I feel like it would have been better. I mean, because this did look like two 50-year-old guys trying to have a match from 10 years ago. Yeah, but I mean the Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre match, I also liked. It just felt like to quote JR, a slobber knocker. It just felt like oh yeah, this is just a grudge match between two guys who just want to beat each other up and stuff. And it was also built up nicely. It did kind of have a rush build, but yeah, it was kind of and we got to see the Demon Finn Balor back again, which was cool, and he powerbombed Bobby Lashley, which was really cool. Like yeah, he's gonna pick up this guy who's 80 pounds heavier than him and powerbomb him. That was great. And yeah, the main event I liked a lot, but yeah, the kind of screwy finish. Like I'm waiting to see what fruit that bears, because I don't know if that was an actual.
It was an accident.
It was?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The ref was fined for counting the way he did. But with that being said, it's also, I think it'll be a blessing in disguise if Ronda comes back and comes back with, I'm still your champion. I was never beaten, type thing. It's a nice built-in way that if Ronda ever wants to come back after whatever plan she's doing. She put out a video yesterday or today. I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not going to comment on that. But if she ever does come back, it's definitely something that they could look back and say, give her something to use.
Yeah.
And so, but it was an accident.
Okay.
He wasn't supposed to count it. It was supposed to actually, from what I understand, because they were building the arm bar, they were building the disarmor as the move that she was going to win by. Becky was supposed to win by that on Ronda.
Mm.
It's from what I understand. Maybe that's not the case, but I do know that it was an accident. The ref was fined, but you can also tell that by the way they moved on. Like, it happened. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
She's now Becky Two Belts.
Yeah, which is actually a pretty funny nickname. I actually like that. But yeah, that okay, well, I guess that's kind of a happy accident then, because it does leave the door open for that.
Yep.
So yeah, that's okay. Yeah, the Baron Corbin Kurt Angle thing, I was really upset by that. I think it should have been John Cena. I think that would have been a good bookend. John Cena was even there. He brought back the Doctor of Thugonomics thing. I loved that whole segment with him and Elias. I thought that was great. He had some. John had some great digs, some great verses that he was spitting, and some great rhymes. And yeah, it was cool to see him even if it was just for this night to kind of go back to that persona. That was cool. I really dug that because that was the John Cena I initially knew. And so that was really cool, and he was funny and clever and proved that he's one of the best talkers that we've ever had in this biz. And I was hoping that he would come out, dismantle Baron Corbin, and be like, yeah, actually, I'm actually his new opponent, blah blah blah. And then they would put on, probably a short match, but a good one. That didn't happen. I get it's to build Baron Corbin into this just completely terrible, awful heel that nobody likes. It got him some great heat, but I just feel like Kurt Angle didn't have to be the sacrificial lamb for that. But Kurt Angle's a good dude. I'm sure he wanted to help Baron Corbin out. I'm sure he was okay with it.
Depends on who you ask.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, yeah, because we know in the world of wrestling, everybody thinks they have the inside scoop, and they know. They think they know what's going on and stuff like that. But yeah, okay. But yeah, so it's it's very weird. That was all weird, but the Kofi and Daniel Bryan, that was a great match. It was suspenseful. It was back and forth. It felt like a main event, even though it was like close to the middle of the show. It was probably the best match. My favorite match was AJ Styles and Randy Orton. I really liked the build to that. I really liked all the promos and stuff they were throwing back at each other during the weeks leading up to it. And when you and I talked Crackle Barrel last week, we kind of talked about WrestleMania and stuff like that. That was the match I talked about the most because it was just one that for whatever reason just checked all my boxes. I loved it. These are two of my all-time favorites. These are two of the all-time greats. They have styles that matched up. That's not a joke. They have styles that match up in a very weird but good way. And I kind of told you, I was like, this was almost like a mix between an old school Southern wrestling style match and like a modern sort of New Japan / indie match or something like that. Like it had a really cool feel. It had a good pace. All the guys hit their high spots, and it felt like a big match too. And I'm glad that these two guys had this program, even if it was just for this one match. Like, all right, well, it was pretty good. I really liked it. And but yeah, overall, man, I thought WrestleMania was WrestleMania 35 was great. I thought it was really good, really good. Definitely makes up for last year by a country mile. So yeah, anything else?
Nothing about the show. I do think the match that I would go back to watch again, just because it was fun, was the Shane McMahon versus Miz. I liked the finish to it. I liked the build. I liked the build all the way from the show in Saudi Arabia till now. Whereas most people didn't really care for the build, they didn't really like where it was going. I like to see babyface Miz. I think it's kind of a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised they didn't do like a fatherhood angle. I mean, they did a fatherhood angle, but not with him. Like, they should have done. I have my child now. I get it. I'm gonna be chilled out for a bit. But I like babyface Miz. So that would be the match I would go back and watch just because it was entertaining. I enjoyed the last spot, and then again Shane beating the Miz, proving that he is the best in the world.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, Kofi and Daniel was probably the match of the night in my opinion as well. Yes, Triple H and Batista was long, but they had some fun spots. Obviously, Batista hasn't been in the ring for a very long time, and that's fine. I think people who people like you and I could go into that match and be like, yes, it wasn't perfect, but it was entertaining.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the whole nose ring pulled out bit. I enjoyed Triple H's face at a lot of times when he was doing that stuff. I'm fine with Triple H going over because Batista's not going to be wrestling ever again. That was basically his retirement match. And it makes sense.
Yeah, it just was like, okay, like I don't get why only Triple H's career was on the line. If this was going to be hit, I feel like it should have just been like a straight up retirement match for both guys, because then it would make sense why Batista would retire. So I thought that was just kind of a weird little thing that they didn't add to it. But
yeah, I would agree with that too. And it's not. I'm wondering if this was like, because I think Batista is going to be in very high demand in Hollywood right now, and so it would have been nice to see a fuller extent of this, a bigger build, a more psychological thing going on with this. But my guess is Batista didn't have enough time to do that.
Yeah.
And so my guess also is that he'll probably go in the Hall of Fame next year. Is my guess.
Probably. That's probably a good bet.
But I thought it was fine. I thought it was serviceable. Again, he hasn't been in the ring for so long now.
Yeah, like I wish that maybe he could have got a couple house shows under his belt to kind of get the ring rust.
Because he said before that he wouldn't mind doing he wouldn't have minded doing house shows. But like I said, I think he's in high demand in Hollywood right now. I think he's got several movies he's working on. I mean, Guardians is going to start shooting sometime, so I'm assuming he's still going to be in it. But yeah, I wasn't all that. I didn't care for the Corbin Angle match, but I didn't care about the outcome either. I mean, it was sad, but whatever. And yeah, I mean, it was a good show, fan service. I think my second favorite match was the tag team match for the titles. I thought that was really well done. But other than that, I don't have anything else. I think the Seth Brock match going on first was a great idea, which sounds like it was Lesnar and Heyman's idea to put it first. And adding that whole, we got to get to Las Vegas thing is pretty funny because, from what I understand, they still made a joke about that on Monday Night Raw this past week or yesterday.
Oh yeah, hey, I haven't watched Raw yet, so I'll have to.
Gotcha. So yeah, I liked that. I think that was a pace setter. Seth and Brock coming out was a pace setter, and that was the best place to put it. And I don't think Brock was angry that it didn't go on first, but it just made sense going first. It made sense to get it out of the way. Open the show with a huge bang.
Yeah, because. Yeah, you're probably right. Like I'm sure, like a lot of people probably think of just because the line between who he actually is and who his character is blurred a lot. Dealing with Brock. I'm sure he wasn't just like, okay, Vince, here's the deal. I need to get to Vegas. Just put us on first, okay, pal? I'm sure he was like, hey, Vince, actually, I have a, like, do you think we could go on first and stuff like, I'm sure he asked nicely, like, I'm sure he wasn't just like, all right, Vince, here's the deal. Like, I'm sure he's like, hey, Vince, I have an idea, like, because, like, I'm not a Lesnar apologist by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think he's a modern-day Viking warrior in every, in every aspect.
Yeah, and the only other thought I had is let's do away with the battle royals. I hate to say that, but they just look sloppy to me this year.
Yeah.
And I was fine. I'm actually fine with Carmella winning. It would have been nice to put Sarah Logan over because, especially since they broke up the Riot Squad and looking back. But I'm fine with her winning. It just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it does.
And Strowman winning doesn't mean anything. It was just they're just two extra matches to get everybody on a WrestleMania card so that they can get paid.
Yeah.
Which I get, and I'm fine. But let's be better about the quality of these two matches.
Yeah. Hopefully they could see. That's the thing is that in the past, like other than Corbin, I can't think of somebody who used the momentum. Like, because Corbin used that momentum to be like, oh yeah, because that was his first night on the main roster. He and so like I feel like they could have done something, with all the other guys. Like, that was his first, and then like he used that in his, feud with Dolph Ziggler and Miz or whoever over the summer, blah blah blah. But like that was a while ago, man. Gosh. But yeah, like I think if there's a time you can right that ship and actually make it's you could do it with Braun.
You could.
And like I don't think they will.
No, because they tend to get Braun everything but a title shot. I mean, not even really a title shot, but giving him a title. I don't think Braun will ever have a title because he is the attraction piece.
Yes.
He's like Andre, who never had a title. Well, technically never had a title.
Yeah, he had the shortest WWE Championship reign.
Yeah.
He held it for like 8 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
He sold it to Ted DiBiase or whatever. But
Braun's probably never gonna have. I take it back. He did have a title. He was the tag team champion with Nicholas for a day.
Yeah.
Which still.
And he was the greatest Royal Rumble champion because they had a title belt for that, which was a cool looking belt.
It was
like,
a cool
it
looking
really
belt.
was.
That green was awesome.
Yeah, it was an awesome looking belt. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay, so is he still the greatest Royal Rumble champion?
Right.
Like, you know, is that reign still continuing? Is he, you know, when he participates in the next greatest Royal Rumble, if there is one, will he be putting the title on the line, kind of thing? Like,
yeah, or is it going to be one of those things that the next person who wins, if they do the gimmick for Saudi Arabia, do they do that, and then whoever wins face Braun Strowman for the title?
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of cool, but it's a non-existent title that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
At least as far as I understand.
I mean, it's a cool belt that Braun Strowman can hang on his,
Yeah.
his man cave wall, but it really is a cool looking belt. Like,
It is.
but yeah, you're right. It's just kind of yeah. I mean, and that's a good way of looking at Braun whenever he doesn't get a title. Is look at, well, he's the Andre guy. He's the big giant that you're like, whoa, here he is. Like, he doesn't need the title to be over, to be good, to be on top, to be cool. But like, but still, I feel like he could maybe. Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't know, but yeah. I like Braun Strowman. Braun's great.
Yeah, I do too. But now, looking at the card, and we've had. I mean, you haven't watched tonight's Raw, but looking at it now, going back through and seeing these names, what are your thoughts now after we've kind of reset things? We have the Superstar shakeup pretty much done. From what I understand, they shook up some other things last night. They decided to move Andrade and Zelina Vega back to SmackDown due to possibly Andrade and Charlotte's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because they moved Zelina back to SmackDown Live, they have moved Aleister Black because they're married. Which, for all intents and purposes, thank you WWE for valuing marriages at least that much.
Yeah.
You used to be in one of those. You used to be not caring. We'll put one husband on this and a wife on another, or whatever relationships, so we can discourage relationships. But now they've put both on the same brand. They did that with the Usos and Naomi. They're on the same brand, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. First of all. Second of all, it's sad. I want to see Andrade on Raw.
Yeah.
I want to see him versus AJ Styles. I want to see him versus Samoa Joe. I want to see him versus Seth. Everybody on that. However, Andrade versus Roman. Andrade versus all those other guys who came over. I'm fine with that. And then even Zelina. Zelina versus Bayley. Zelina versus any of the ladies on SmackDown Live. And so I'm not totally upset about that. But now that we have, back to the question. Now that we have all of this shakeup, looking at the WWE card of WrestleMania, what are your thoughts now that we're a couple weeks into it?
Just really quick, I'm glad that to touch on your statement real quick, just before I answer the question, just very, very quick. I think moving Aleister Black on SmackDown I wanted him to go to SmackDown.
I agree.
And I feel like even though I liked the pairing of him and Ricochet, it worked. I think Aleister Black needs to be that Batman archetype, the lone wolf, dark brooding character who, even though the pairing of him and Ricochet I would never have thought of but worked, I'm just like, all right, now let's start building him up as, this Dark Avenger, this, swift, silent, deadly, cool, like, Dutch ninja supernatural character. Like, start really building him up so he can go up against, all the big time names. Like, I mean, him and Finn, him and Roman, him and, him and Andrade again, even, or any other guy. Like, there's so many great aspects in of putting him on SmackDown versus Raw. So I'm glad they did that. Like, thank you WWE for putting him on SmackDown instead of Raw. That was a great idea.
I would agree with that.
So now, but moving to your question, yeah, I feel like WWE hit the, like as you said, hit the reset button. They kind of hit the reset button. I feel like all the roster moves they made, I thought largely were great, and I feel like WrestleMania was a great exclamation, and it was a good bookend, and then now it's like, all right, boom, let's start building towards next, and I feel like everything they did was great. I feel like putting AJ on Raw gives Raw the best wrestler I've ever seen. Like, you and I both think AJ is the best wrestler ever. No hyperbole. Like, seriously, I've never seen a better wrestler, I think, than AJ Styles. And I think gives Raw another good worker, like a great battle-tested, great wrestler. Because, it's like they have spectacle, they have a lot of big names, they have all the big guys mainly, but they don't have, like, other than, like, the three Shield guys, they didn't really have, like, that big time, like, whoa, okay, like, you know what I mean? And so now they have that, new, as Jim Cornette would say, new coat of paint, new garage, all right, this car looks a lot better now. And so, that's why Hogan and WCW worked, because it was like, all right, new coat of paint, new supporting cast, like, blah, 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 and so I feel like that's a great, putting AJ in Raw was awesome. I think him and Seth will be a great program. I think, him versus Lashley, him versus McIntyre, I'm blanking on who else is on Raw, but I think that's
Strowman.
Yeah, I think that could even be good, man. I think that could, I think that could totally work. It'd be like Ricky Steamboat versus Andre the Giant. Like, that'd be cool.
I can't remember where Buddy Murphy went, but that would be a great match
Ooh,
too.
yeah, for sure.
And then Cedric Alexander. I know we've.
Yeah.
Was it Cedric versus? It was Cedric versus. You sent me. I think you sent me that a couple years ago or a year ago.
Yeah, it was Cedric Alexander versus AJ Styles.
Was it AJ? I
it
remember.
It was like PWX or some, I don't know, some small indie promotion I've never heard of. Yeah, it's in a bar, like, and this was only like a year before AJ came to WWE, so it wasn't like, forever ago when nobody knew who they were. Like, AJ was a proper star by then, but yeah, it was like in like a bar, and Kevin Owens was on commentary. So if any of you haven't seen this match, go check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, like all of those, like there's tons, and I think. With that being said, looking at the AJ versus Randy Orton match, I'm pretty sure they put that together because he wasn't going to be able, because Randy was going to stay on SmackDown, and AJ was going to move to Raw, which I'm fine with, but I would have liked a longer program.
Yeah.
Because I think AJ versus Randy could have had something even more special than the match they had here.
Yeah.
Which, later on down the road, fine, if this is a foundation that they're laying for a bigger feud between those two guys later on, or even at Survivor Series or whatever, I'm fine with. But looking at the all of the roster and all of the.
I think it would be cool. Sorry to just jump
in.
I think it'd be cool if Randy was just kind of absent from TV for a while, for a couple weeks, and then, like, out of nowhere, as he does, hits AJ Styles with an RKO during the championship match with Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank. It's like, and then you continue that feud. It's a cross-brand feud, but you continue it. Like, so I think that would be cool. Whether or not that'll happen, who knows? But yeah, like I was hoping for more, for at least one more match between the two. Like, I'd love a trilogy ideally, but yeah, you're right. It also does lay a foundation for future stuff. But yeah, that's what I would do. I would do something like that. Just like, oh yeah, Seth Rollins is gonna, be beaten, and then whoa, out of nowhere, RKO, blah blah, blah, or something, and then But anyways,
Yeah, and so that's right. It was a good perspective, and I would agree. I think that would be really cool to build to the cross promotion or whatever you want to call it. Oops. Pardon me while I go back to my screen.
yeah.
All right. Looking at the tag team situation now, at least on Raw, and what they're doing with. I don't know if you've heard, but Viking Experience has a new name.
Yeah.
Again, with the Viking Raiders. I'm interested in seeing what they do with them. It seems like maybe that's the reason why they took Hawkins and Ryder. They put the tag team titles on them, so that the Raiders could come in, the Viking Raiders. Can't call them the Vikings because of copyright. Can't call them the Raiders because of football copyright. But Viking Raiders, okay. Viking. I was actually I was actually okay with the Viking Experience. I was getting to that point. But now the Viking Raiders, I think they just need to come up with a Viking name for them, like something.
Somebody was just like, apparently they were almost going to call them the Berserkers, and then
Yeah.
Vince, at the last second, was like, let's go with the other one. And it's just like, the Berserkers actually would have made sense, because that could mean so many different things.
Yeah.
The Viking Experience, it's just like, A, that's a dumb name. And B, it kind of just makes them have to be like this Viking gimmick. If it's the Berserkers, you can bring them in with the Viking gimmick, and then over time you can change the gimmick into something, whatever. But
Yep. So I think, but the crazy thing is, they're still tag team. As far as we know, they're still tag team champions over in NXT. And so I don't quite understand, but I bet they will be Raw tag team champions. I think at Money in the Bank, I think they'll win it.
Okay.
Against them. Looking at all this stuff. Colin Jost, how in the world did you get Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't get that.
Yeah, because he's not that funny, and he's not a super good-looking dude.
No, he's average. He's not like the worst-looking dude, but he's just what? How?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So what's going to happen to Brock? Will he ever be back? Please no.
Yeah.
Seth, you look great with the title. I think
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing is fine. I think they do need to come up with a number one contender, and what happened on Raw last night was fine.
Yeah.
Usos and their rivalry with the Revival will be really good. I think that match will be, or I think if they set up a series of matches, that'll be really good.
Yeah.
More than likely, the Usos will win, whatever happens there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm sorry. I thought you
that's
were
right. Go
done.
ahead.
I'm sorry. Like I think putting Usos on Raw was a big time move too, because the tag team scenes on both shows kind of just felt a little even though the Usos are amazing. I just feel like, oh man, we need to. So when the Hardys came back and beat the Usos for the tag titles, I was like, okay, right on. This is mixing some stuff up, like right on. And then the Usos appeared on Raw, and I was like, cool, like the landscape is changing. I like that, and I don't care what anybody says. For my money, the Usos and the Revival are the two best tag teams in wrestling. Like I know a lot of people like some of those Japan teams. They love the Young Bucks, and they love what's that other big team that's hot right now? Shoot. Anyways, doesn't matter.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that they're the two best tag teams, and I think that you're absolutely right. They'll have a great feud. I think their matches will be awesome. So yeah, I can't wait for that. Like I think that'll be awesome.
And hopefully this will spark the Raw tag team title race to be better. I think the Usos have the better characters, and I think given carte blanche to the Revival, if they were to open up and talk for themselves, I think would be great. Let them be frustrated. Those frustrated heels, like the Brainbusters back in the day. Let them talk. That's their style. They could talk. They could open up with promos like Arn Anderson. They could.
Yeah.
They had really good, impassioned promos that are simple, to the point, and just putting down all the competition. The Usos, great on the mic too, and they could be on the cuff and whatnot. I'm trying to think though now, looking at all the tag teams outside of the Usos, the Revival, Hawkins and Ryder. What other tag teams are on Raw? Oh, and the Viking Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
What are the other tag teams on Raw?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I can't think of, yeah.
So, I mean, there's that. I'm wondering if they'll ever go anywhere with
That's why
Shane and Miz.
That's why I'm hoping they'll bring up the Undisputed Era soon.
It would be nice, but if they do that, NXT will be left without major heels, major men heels. They need to build those heels up before they do anything else. I know they're trying to with the Forgotten Sons, but I could care less. I don't really care for that iteration of any of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the authors at Pain are on Raw, but they're one of them's hurt, right?
Hurt pretty bad.
So
we'll see.
Which I'm still carrying that torch, man. Where if you ever want to turn Roman heel, make him the leader of them and make that the Empire of Pain or something like I mean, because their ring attire is so similar. So yeah, if you ever want to turn Roman heel, that's how you do it.
Yep.
Anyways.
but yeah, just I can't think of anything else looking at the WrestleMania that I want to talk about. Looking at the WrestleMania card, it's like, oh, this is where they spun off to. A lot of these things are just feud enders, even though Randy and AJ didn't really have a feud. It was just hey, who knows when they're going to have a match again, so let's just put them together.
Yeah.
Braun winning the Andre the Giant Battle Memorial was fine, but what are they going to do with him now? I can't remember who I've heard that they were going to set up between him and somebody. I can't remember. But yeah, where does the Miz go? Where does Bailey go? Where does Nia and Tamina go? Which sounds like Nia's out of action too. She's hurt.
Yeah.
Where does Beth come back and form the tag team still with Natalya? When will Daniel Bryan be back? I know he's apparently injured as well.
Didn't he mess up his ankle or something doing one of the spots or
don't remember
in the match?
That's possibly true. Are they ever going to pull? Are they ever going to let Drew McIntyre actually come in and win? I mean, there are questions, but a lot of these things were, looking at it now, not a lot of them. There were several that were just like, who knows when they're going to wrestle next? They're going to switch brands.
Yeah.
Throw this on WrestleMania. Give them a payday. But anyway, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah. And then on the SmackDown side, like I already kind of talked about Alistair a bit, but I think putting Roman on SmackDown was probably the perfect counter move to putting AJ on Raw. I thought swapping those two, and then Finn also going to SmackDown Live, I think great too. I think, just like I said earlier, new paint, new garage. I think that'll work great for him too, and I think there will be lots of cool stuff for him to do over there for sure. And also we get him as far away from Bobby Lashley as possible, because it's not that feud was bad. It's just it went on way too long for me. Bobby Lashley's a good heel. Bobby Lashley's a good worker. The dude's got a great look, and him and Leo Rush are a good pairing. I like that for a heel Bobby Lash. I actually like that, but I just feel like, all right, that feud ran its course, and then so now we have that in the rear view. But yeah, I think putting Roman on SmackDown, I thought the way they brought him on SmackDown, I thought all that was great. Can't wait to see what goes down with that tomorrow night. I think that'll be cool. Yeah, I'm really really excited to see what will be in store for Raw and SmackDown until next WrestleMania, and who knows how many times, if any, we'll get back together to talk about stuff. But this has been fun getting back and everything, and I think, like I said, good counter move. You put AJ on Raw. Okay, well, what do we do? Well, you put Roman on SmackDown, because like I was saying, like, you give SmackDown more star power and you give Raw a better, some more great working baby faces. And because like if I was ever going to start a wrestling promotion, which that would be a fun podcast to do, just like for 2 hours, talk about this is my promotion, this is who I would have as the top guy, this is who I'd have as bubble, that'd be a fun one that we should do sometime for sure. Think about it for a couple of weeks, come up with some good stuff, and then just talk about it. So yeah, we'll have to plan for that for some time. But anyways, I would always want people who could easily be a babyface or a heel. And so, like, okay, take Roman. He could be a babyface or a heel easily. AJ, he could be a great babyface. He could be a great heel. Randy Orton, great babyface, great heel. People like that. And so when you have a guy like that who's your top guy. So now I think, even though Seth's the champion, I think him and AJ are going to constantly be like 1A, 1B over on Raw. And I think I think SmackDown is his yard now. So obviously don't put him against Kofi in a championship program because that you'll inadvertently turn him heel and then you'll get people to boo him again.
Yep.
So don't do that. Do not do that. Just don't.
It makes sense. It makes sense on a business point of view too, since SmackDown is going to go to Fox. Why not put, at least in your mind, in Vince's mind, the best wrestler, the greatest acquisition, if you will, to put Roman Reigns on SmackDown, at least for the first year. It's a great idea that he has, because in Vince's mind, he is their draw. It's quite possible their draw, and I think it's on SmackDown, he's going to be a good draw, because I think SmackDown, it's different now. We have big guys on here now. We don't have the smaller guys. We have big guys on the roster, and so from all of those things, everything you said, from the fact that they're switching to Fox, it was a great idea to put Roman. It's a fresh idea to put Roman on SmackDown to see what he does. And absolutely, you're 100% right. Do not make him go after the title.
Yeah.
Make him come out and say, "I got to prove myself." And I think it sounds like they might be doing a feud between. When I say this, feud as in the old '90s way, feud between him and Vince. I would like to see that. I would like to see Vince say, "All right, you're going to face this person, and if you win, blah 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 blah, this is going to happen."
Yeah.
But keep him away from the WWE title right now.
Now, if they want to eventually make him WWE champion on SmackDown, which in time, when Kofi's reign has run its course, has had a good run, blah blah blah, I think use Lars Sullivan as a transitional champion, have him beat Kofi in just a horrible way, whether it's cheating or it's being the nasty heel who whatever, get heat on Lars, and then have him do cheat to keep it, blah 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 or whatever, and then have Roman dethrone Lars or something like that. Something kind of an old school transitional champion kind of way, where you have the big bad heel beat the beloved babyface, and then you have the next champion you want come beat him, kind of that kind of thing. Like, do something like that, but don't put him with Kofi unless it's in a respectful one-off thing where Kofi wins or something like that. But yeah, it would just be smart. Just keep him away. Just keep him away. But
and I think they should take a cue from NXT UK, who does this build. Like, they build a person up, and then they build this other person up. They make them go against each other, and then the person that they build up more, or they want to succeed more, they go off and are built towards this person, and then the person who was kind of out of it gets to go away for a little bit, comes back, same character, but builds up a little bit too. I like the way the NXT UK is building their characters. Obviously, they didn't really have to build, or did they build? They didn't really build Walter, but still, I like that slowness, that pace to it, instead of all of it seems like it's random garbage. Oh, I like this person today, so he's going to go against this person. No, go back to the build a person up, so so it looks credible enough for them to beat so and so.
Yeah.
Build those people up. Don't just throw them like they did this past Raw. Don't throw them into these matches. Just, you've got to build them up, make them work, quote unquote, work for it, and then have them go face to face. And by the time that happens, like the NXT is doing that with a tag team right now, who on paper they're not that great on paper. Like, I don't feel like they have a great look, but I'm invested with them because the way they built them, the way they've made them win. It's like, this guy shouldn't be winning, but I'm okay with it. They need to do that. They need to do those kind of things, and
agreed.
It would be better.
It would. Well, that has been Monday. Money in the Bank, WrestleMania, and Superstar Shakeup. We'll try to get back together sometime to do more of this, hopefully. But yeah, that has been it. So thanks for stopping by.
Peace.